Everyone, thank you so much for joining me on Facebook Live and on Periscope. I do appreciate it. My name is Kayl May. I am the Customer Service and Leadership Coach. I am a motivational speaker. I am a mentor. I am an author. I am a radio talk show host, a radio personality. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I just wanted to share a little inspiration with you. I was talking to one of my confidants, and she was giving me a story where she was using my life story as an example to someone else who she was speaking to, who was had some problems in their marriage. And you know, one of the things the young lady said is she followed me on social media, and she's known me for a little while, and she did not know, she thought that my husband and I had a perfect marriage. So it just gave me some insight on why I should do a video on this, because you know, I'm writing a book on my life story. Actually, I just wrote the book. It's in editing stages now. And it just gave me a good idea. You know, so many people look at other people and they say, you know, they have a perfect marriage. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage. I have been with my spouse for 31 years, since I was 16 and he was 18. And believe me, there have been some struggles throughout these 31 years. There's nothing that, I don't think any marriage has ever gone through, you know, years of being together and not having some type of problems. You know, they say your first 5 or 10 years are your hardest time in a marriage, because you still getting to know one another. You know, when you're speaking and when you're talking, sometimes you bite your tongue. And you bite your tongue because it's two different parts, right? It's two unique people going into a relationship that may not have anything in common except for love. That's my husband and I. We didn't have anything in common. You know, I like summertime, he like wintertime. I like loud colors, he like dark colors. I mean, everything is so different with us, but the love that we have for one another has bonded us together. And when she was speaking to her, she was saying, you know, look at Kayl and Paul, which she calls us by our nicknames, but she was like, look at Kayl and Paul's relationship. And the person was like, oh, I would love to have a relationship like theirs. You know, they do everything together. They get along so well. He don't ever say anything. He's so patient with her. He likes to go everywhere with her and all this and that. And hi, Eric, and thank you so much for joining me on Periscope. And that's absolutely correct. He does now. But you have to remember, we have been together for 31 years, and that's what my book is going to be about. It's about you're going to go through those struggles in life, and we've had some struggles that some people may not even go through. But you have to remember that, you know, you have to remind yourself of that love that you have for that person, and to remain in love with that person. I know a lot of couples who love one another, but they're not in love with one another. Case in point is one person I know who has been retired for a little while. He has been retired for a little while, and his wife is retiring this year. And the first thing she said is, we're probably going to end up getting divorced within a year, because I'm not used to being there with him, and I'm not used to having to talk to him every day. We cannot let what we have to deal with on a daily basis stop us from communicating with our spouse. We can't let, because we have children and responsibilities, stop us from communicating with our spouse, because you have to remember, and I think I learned this from my mom, because she surrounded her life around my brother and I, and especially me being the girl. And when I got grown and I went off to the military, and then I came back and I got married and I started having children, she didn't really know what to do with herself. So what she did is she surrounded her life around her 2 grandboys. But I didn't want that to be me. I wanted to have my, you know, I wanted to have my spouse there with me. I wanted to have my husband there with me. I wanted to have the man that I love there with me. So we had to continue to make sure we made those memories, make sure we had those conversations while the kids were growing up. Even though we were very busy with them, we still had to make sure we made time out for one another. We still had to touch one another. We still had to love one another. We still had to make love with one another. You have to make sure, because you know, these struggles that you go through and all this ripping and running you have to do to, you know, when you have a family, it's true, you have to do all those things. But you have to remember, those kids are going to grow up and they're going to have, you know, families of their own, and, you know, they're going to have their own life. And that's what we're dealing with now with our 22 and 25-year-old. They have their own things going, right? So we have to make sure that we still have relationships so that we can enjoy one another. So through all the struggles that we have gone through, we have made sure that we not only, you know, loved one and continue to love one another, we had to make sure that we were in love with one another. And that's where we are today. We're definitely in love with one another, but people can't see that struggle that we've already gone through. And that's why it's time for us to share our story now. We couldn't share it back then because we were still going through the struggle, but now that we have gone through that struggle, we can share it with someone else, and hopefully it can help them. When my aunt was talking to this other person, you know, they're going through some situations now, so they can't see an outlook. So when she's telling them, and that's why she was sharing our story, and I don't mind that, it's because she's helping them to see this is where you are now. And a lot of young couples get this way, but this is where you can go if you work hard at it. It's important to know there's a, you know, there's a rainbow at the end of this struggle. You know, every day is not going to be a struggle. Every day is not going to be, you know, problems in your relationship. And when those times are not there, that's when you have to make those good memories up. And that's what our book talk about. And it just gave me inspiration when my confidant told me that. It gave me an inspiration to say, this is why you're writing your book. This is why you went through that, that 2-year struggle of trying to get your story out, because it's going to help other couples. It's going to help other couples that has definitely gone through this specific issue that we've gone through. But anybody that has gone through a struggle can insert their issue into, you know, replace their issue with the issue that we had, and see that you can still come out strong. You can still come out in love. You can still come out loving your spouse, and you can still come out lusting for the person that you have committed to. You can still do that. So it just gave me that inspiration to say, you know what, I'm so glad I went through that so I can help someone else. Because sometimes, you know, a lot of people don't like to talk about their stories, but sometimes we have to, because someone else is going through the same thing and they can't see that silver lining. So this is going to help them see that silver lining at the end of the rainbow, right? Because there is going to be one if you work hard enough at it. Now, that doesn't mean that everything that you do or your spouse does, that the other person is going to forgive you for it and they're going to be there with you. Sometimes divorce is going to happen. Sometimes you're not going to get back together. But even divorce doesn't mean that that relationship is over. Sometimes we need to go through those divorces in order for us to remember what we had in our spouse or the significant other. That's what it's all about. So I just I was encouraged when my confidant told me this story, and I wanted to encourage everyone else. This is the reason why we share our stories. This is the reason why I struggled to write the book. This is the reason why I wanted it out sooner than it is coming out now. But it's going to be out just in time to help someone. And I see that now just from other people sharing my story. There's only a few people who actually know my story, but people share my story, and now people are coming back saying, you know, it has helped them understand that everything is not going to be a struggle in a relationship, in a marriage, and every marriage does not have to end. And if it does end, it doesn't mean that it's a dead end. You can still get back on the road and start driving again in that marriage and that relationship. And lastly, what I want to say is, don't ever think, and I know so many of us are so afraid to get counseling when we're going through things. Don't be afraid to get counseling. Go through, if you want your relationship to work and you think counseling is going to help, go through it. Don't worry about what other people are saying. Don't worry about what other people are saying, whether you should stay with your spouse or not. Only you know what's best for you, not no one else. No one else is walking in your shoes. They don't know exactly what you're going through. If they're hearing your story, they're hearing a one-sided story. You know, there's 3 sides to every story. My mother used to tell me this all the time. It's your side, it's his side, and the truth. And she never thought I was telling the truth about anything, because she absolutely loved her son-in-law, and she knew my demeanor, my attitude, my personality. So of course everything was my fault. But always, when you're telling someone else that story, and be very careful. I know when we get angry, we want to talk about our problems with someone else, but be very careful of that, because if you decide to go back, that person has heard everything that you've gone through, and now they're trying to tell you why you don't need to go back. Now, in certain situations, that's true, you may not need to go back, but be very careful of, you know, what you're telling your friends, your family, and other people. Be very careful of that, because only you know what's right for you. Only you know how much you're willing to take to make that marriage work. Only you know. It is only your relationship. Your relationship and the person that you're in that relationship with. You're the only two that can determine when the end. Hey Star, hey Dana, hey Travis. You're the only ones, you two are the only ones who can decide whether it is time to give it up, or it still has something left there that you can continue to work on. So I was just inspired by that. I was encouraged to say, yes, I know I have a hard story to tell, and I know it's going to be emotional at times when I'm talking about it, but it's going to help someone else get through their struggles. And I think that's part of what I live my life for. So I know it's going to be worth it in the end, because I want to see marriages work. I want to see relationships work. Yes, we're going to have problems in relationships. We're going to have struggles in marriages. Sometimes we may get divorced, but it does not mean that it's the end of the road for us. We can still make marriages work. You know, nowadays I see that younger people really give up on their marriages too soon. They give up on their relationships too soon, because they say, you know, I can get somebody else. I don't need to put up with this. I don't need to put up with that. And I remember, I'm such a hardcore person, and I wasn't going to put up with this, and I wasn't going to put up with that, because I knew my worth. I knew who I was, and, you know, and I wasn't going to put up with it. Well, trust me, in life, we're going to put up with more than we thought we were, because that relationship is worth it. You have to remember why you married that person, why you wanted to be with that person. And if those things are still there, and if you still see the worth in that person, it is still worth trying to make it work. And that does not mean let people use you or abuse you, because I don't believe in that at all. But I do believe in trying to make a marriage work. So hopefully my book is going to help people do that as well. You can read a little bit more about my book if you go to Kayl May, the customer service coach.info, and look at my website. It gives you a little bit more information about that. Or you can always email me at bottomlinesecret@yahoo.com. Again, my name is Kayl May. I am the customer service and leadership coach. I am an author. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a radio talk show personality, and I am a mentor. Thank you so much for joining me as always. I do appreciate it. I will see you all later on this evening, because I'm going to another the third networking event today, and I will see y'all later on. I'll probably do a little insert on that, just let you see what's going on in the world of networking and entrepreneurship. It's going to be about, if you like in this little video, this networking event I'm going to this evening. One of my star actually is on, she was on here. Her husband wrote a book about relationships, so I'm going to go and support them this evening. So I'll pop back on a little bit later on, but thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you all later. Bye bye.